This is TLC to go.
Okay, let's dive deep today. We're unpacking a really crucial topic, especially for you listening, as health sciences faculty, attending to student well-being.
And we're grounding this conversation in some excellent material from the UTHSC Teaching and Learning Center. It's very practical stuff.
Exactly. Our goal here is to give you a quick, solid understanding, pulling out the key takeaways and, importantly, the actionable tips directly from this source.
Think of it as a focused. Look at how you, in your faculty role, can concretely support students.
Because the main idea, right, from this material is that faculty have this really unique opportunity, both in the classroom and in clinical settings too.
Definitely. So maybe we start with the why. Why is focusing on student well-being so critical right now, according to the source?
Well, it paints a picture that goes way beyond just academics. Students are juggling intense academic pressure, sure, but also things like, really long commutes.
Right, or dealing with personal health issues, maybe family health issues.
And sometimes very basic, fundamental challenges, difficulties finding stable housing, affording food, just general financial insecurity.
And those things, they don't just stay outside the classroom door, do they?
Not at all. The material makes a clear link. When students are under that kind of strain, their ability to really engage, to learn effectively, it takes a hit.
They might be physically there, but mentally or emotionally, they're just stretched too thin.
But the good news, the source suggests, is that faculty actions can help buffer some of that.
How so? What kind of actions are we talking about?
Things that might sound simple but have a big impact, like really clear communication about the course,
Okay.
incorporating flexibility where you realistically can, doing regular check-ins.
Testing how things are going.
Yeah, exactly. And even just consciously creating a more welcoming, supportive environment in your interactions.
That makes sense. But there's a boundary there, too, isn't there? The material is pretty specific about the faculty role.
Oh, absolutely crucial point. It's very clear. Faculty can provide support, but you are not expected to be counselors or therapists. That's not the role.
Right. So a big part of this is knowing when a student's needs go beyond what you can or should provide directly.
And knowing where to guide them. Connecting them to the right professional resources, counseling, learning specialists, that kind of thing.
That distinction feels really important. Support, yes. Therapy, no. Guide them towards help.
Precisely. And this isn't just, a nice idea. There's research cited that backs up why these faculty approaches matter.
Okay, like what?
Well, one study mentioned Jones and colleagues from 2021 found something interesting about assessment.
Assessment and well-being. How do they connect?
It seems that when you design assessments, thoughtfully balancing what needs to be learned with, feasibility for students, making it accessible, being transparent about how it works, that actually supports their well-being.
So it reduces that stress and uncertainty around evaluation.
Exactly. And it contributes to a better overall culture, not just in your course, but potentially more broadly.
So it's the how of teaching and assessing, not just the what.
That's a great way to put it. Then there's another study, Elisa and others in 2016, that really hammers home the importance of the learning climate.
The overall feeling of the classroom or the clinic.
Yeah, that climate directly impacts really fundamental things for students. Their self-esteem, whether they feel like they belong, their confidence in their ability to succeed.
Wow, okay. So the environment itself is a powerful teacher in a way.
It really seems so.
Yeah.
And one more piece of research mentioned is by Cox Davenport from 2017. This one looks specifically at brief weekly check-ins.
The 5-minute check-in idea.
That's the one. The finding was that these quick touch points can actually make a big difference in helping students feel connected.
Especially, I imagine, when they're just starting out in a demanding professional program.
Exactly. It helps ease that transition, makes them feel seen, basically.
Okay, so that research really sets the stage for the practical side. Let's get into those specific teaching tips the UTHSC material lays out.
Right, the actionable stuff. What's first on the list?
Transparency and clear communication. It sounds basic, but the emphasis is on being really explicit.
Explicit about what, specifically?
Your expectations for everything. Explaining assignments thoroughly, telling students exactly how they'll get feedback and when they can expect it.
Reducing the guesswork.
Yes. Providing rubrics for assessments is a key part of this, too. It's all about helping students feel secure, like they understand the rules of the game. Reduces that background anxiety.
Makes sense. But what about those times when, maybe because of accreditation rules or program structure, you can't be super flexible?
Great question. The guidance is still transparency. Even if you have limitations on flexibility, like firm deadlines, explaining the reason why is crucial.
Ah, so it's not just no, it's no and here's why.
Exactly. That builds trust and clarity even when the policy itself is rigid. And that understanding itself supports well-being.
Okay, so clarity first. That leads nicely into the next tip, which is about flexibility.
Right. Be flexible when possible. Look for those reasonable opportunities.
What might that look like in practice?
Well, the material suggests things like considering reasonable deadline extensions if a student is facing a genuine difficulty. Or maybe having a policy for, say, one penalty-free late submission under specific circumstances.
So not a free-for-all, but building in some potential leeway.
Precisely. And again, the key is communicating your policy clearly, whatever it is. Even if your flexibility is limited, just having that open communication reduces stress because students know what to expect.
Clarity always, flexibility where feasible.
Got it. What about those check-ins we mentioned earlier? How does the source suggest incorporating those?
This is presented as a really vital strategy. Regularly taking the pulse, seeing how students are doing, both personally and academically.
And you'd need to decide what the goal of a particular check-in is. Yeah. Is it just a general vibe check? Or is it more focused, like checking on stress levels before a big exam, or seeing how they're processing a difficult topic, or maybe even reacting to current events?
Seems like the way you do it could vary a lot, too.
Definitely. The material gives examples. You could do quick verbal go-rounds in class if the group size allows. Or use anonymous surveys. They mention tools like Microsoft Forms, which might get more honest answers sometimes.
Right. Anonymity can help.
Or even visual tools. Things like a simple mood board people can react to, or that fist to five technique where students just hold up fingers to indicate how they're feeling or understanding something.
Lots of options there. And it loops back to that Cox-Davenport research that even a quick 5-minute version helps with easing transitions.
Exactly. It signals that you care about them as people, not just as learners.
Okay, what's the next practical tip?
Inviting student input. Actually asking students for their thoughts on aspects of the learning experience.
Like what sort of aspect?
Could be feedback on the syllabus early on. Asking for their opinions on the course structure or pace. Maybe even co-creating some classroom norms or expectations together.
That sounds like it taps into that idea of student agency.
It does, directly. The source says giving students a voice like this enhances their sense of agency, their feeling of control and involvement,
which in turn boosts well-being.
and their connection to the course, to the learning community, makes them feel more like active participants, less like they're just being lectured at.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, and the final big practical tip.
This one circles back to that crucial boundary we discussed, knowing when and where to refer students. It's about being prepared to share student support resources.
So if a student mentions they're struggling,
You need to be ready to point them towards the appropriate campus or community services that can actually help with that specific challenge.
does the material list examples of those resources?
Yes, thankfully. It gives concrete examples like campus counseling services, learning specialists for academic skill support, general student success programs.
Okay.
It also mentions things like the campus cupboard for food insecurity or even local shelters if housing is the issue. Having that list ready is key.
And just to reiterate, the core guidance from the source on this point.
Absolutely critical. Your role is to guide students to help. It is not to become their counselor or try to solve complex personal problems yourself. Know the resources, make the referral. That is a supportive action in that context.
That's such a clear and important boundary. This has been really helpful breaking down these concrete steps from the UTHSC material. If faculty listening want to dig even deeper, does the source suggest further reading?
It does, yeah. It points to a few helpful resources. One is called the Faculty Guide to Supporting Student Mental Health. That's from the JED Foundation.
Okay, a guide specifically for faculty sounds very useful.
And there are a couple from something called 5-Minute University, which sound like, quick hits of information.
Perfect for busy faculty.
Right. One is Support the Mental Health of Your Students, and it features Dr. Lauren Woods from the College of Health Professions here.
Very relevant for our audience.
Definitely. And another is The Importance of Caring, featuring Dr. Bill Callahan from the College of Dentistry. So perspectives from different health science fields.
Great. Any others mentioned?
Yes, one more. A Student Well-Being Toolkit from Teaching Support and Innovation at the University of Oregon. That sounds like it could be quite comprehensive.
Okay, excellent. So Lots of avenues for further exploration.
For sure. So I guess wrapping up this deep dive into the UTHSC resource on student well-being, the main takeaway really is that faculty play a significant role.
A really vital one.
And the encouraging part is that there are these practical, manageable strategies you can use. Things like improving communication, being thoughtfully flexible.
Doing those check-ins, knowing the referral resources.
Exactly. And using these tools, it's not just about helping one student in one moment. It actually helps build a more positive, supportive learning environment overall.
Which we heard from the research, impacts engagement, learning, the whole culture.
Right. It all connects.
It really does. So thinking about that connection between the climate you create and student well-being, how it affects their belonging, their confidence, here's maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over.
Okay.
What's one small, concrete change you could potentially make in your teaching approach, maybe even this week, to intentionally enhance that climate for your students?
Could be anything, really.
Could be trying one of those quick check-ins, maybe just taking 5 minutes to clarify expectations around an upcoming assignment, or even just making a point to use students' names more consciously.
Even seemingly small things can send a powerful message.
Absolutely. A small shift can definitely resonate. Well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive into the UTHSC Teaching and Learning Center's material on attending to student well-being. We really hope breaking down this source has been valuable for you.
Yeah, hopefully some useful insights and shortcuts there. We definitely encourage you to check out those further resources if you want to explore more.
And please do join us again for other deep dives where we'll continue to unpack different sources on various topics relevant to your work. There's so much support out there. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Take care of yourselves.
And each other. See you next time.